Good morning and welcome to Good News Covington County. And boy, I'll tell you, we had a little delay this morning, and it's the sun. The sun moved on us, and or should I say the earth moved, or the sun? I don't know. It worked some way that way. But anyway, the sun's coming through, and we didn't expect that. This new studio, so we're learning new things about it, and so we had to wait a little bit, and then we stuck up different things to block the sun. But most importantly, our guest is here, and we want to thank Alan for coming on. Everybody knows who this man is, and if you've been in Covington County more than 5 minutes, you know who Alan Williams is, his brother Eddie, and the family over there, over at Covington Casket. Alan, welcome aboard. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
I've been waiting for this day. I've pestered you about it at the bowling alley. I've come down to the office and talked to you about it. So we got to do this, Alan, and we're here.
Well, it's just not every day that somebody approaches you about talking about caskets. So well, I'm glad you did.
Well, you know, I understand that, but it's Halloween, so we can talk about that.
We can tie it in.
There you go. We can tie it in somewhere. But I believe it's the oldest coffin or casket. What do they call the old wooden ones?
Well, they call them coffins.
Coffins.
The old ones. Yeah.
Right. It's got the split wood on the top
right.
for the, and that came from what was that? Henderson, Merrill, and in that group.
Up in Dozier?
Up in Dozier. Yeah. It was up there as their display model.
I've seen that.
And when they shut it down, okay, I got it. And I was like, wow, what do I do with this? But Brooks Hardware used it last year for a display in their window, and you know, so I got a casket. I was talking to you about doing a show one time with getting a casket and having, you know, Fright Night or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, lots of great ideas, but things pass. But you know, people talk, and we hear it mentioned in when people talk about Covington Casket. First off, it's a very large employer, okay, in the community. It for a local business. We're not talking about somebody else from outside having a business. This is a local business, but it's also the oldest business in town. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, it was the oldest manufacturing facility or company in Covington County. So we're proud of that. I mean, you know, we were right there neck and neck, I think, with the textile mill there in Over and Op.
Right.
And of course, when they shut down, then that there's no question about it that we are the oldest manufacturer in Covington County, and that's something we're proud of. And we got a good workforce down there, and we've got some good loyal customers, and we just contribute that to our backbone of what we do.
Well, we got to throw him out here first, okay? Frankie McVeigh, okay, is kind of a neat guy. He's all right. He's a great guy. I can't pick on him. He's just great. But anyway, he's been there for a long, long time.
Frankie's been there about 35 years, I believe.
Wow.
Right out of high school. First job right out of high school.
Wow. So he knows how to do that stuff.
He knows how to do about every job in the plant.
Well,
and if he can't do it, he's willing to learn. So.
Well, from what I can tell, you don't have a lot of turnover.
No.
Okay. People get there and they stay.
Right.
And you know, Toby, okay, Freeman, he's a friend of ours, and he used to work for y'all
right.
until he got injured or he hurt himself or whatever. And he raves about y'all, you know, and everybody I talk to feels like they're part of a family working at Covington Casket.
Well, that's the way we try to, you know, when we bring people in, you know, we just treat people the way we want to be treated, the way our daddy raised us, and our mother. Got to give her a little praise on that too.
Well, you better. She's watching, I bet.
Yeah, don't want to leave her out. But anyway,
unless she's got to go line dancing.
No, she's not line. I don't think she's line dancing right now, but I wouldn't put it past her. So if she's not line dancing, she's probably walking right now. But anyway, so yeah, we've got Joe Beeman that passed away just 2 or 3 years ago. Had been with us for 45 years.
Wow.
So, at the time, had been there about as old as I was. He'd been there about as long as I was old. So, I mean, you know, so a long time.
Well, not quite.
Yeah.
we're abusing the lines there a little bit.
Close, close.
Within the decade, anyway.
That's right.
But all right, so what we call it coveting casket. All right, so the main product that comes out of there are caskets.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's no other sidelines or
No,
nothing.
no. We have looked in several years ago. Looked into getting into the cremation urns, which cremation has really picked up here lately in the last 10 years. A lot of people are moving and moving into the area. It's real big into Florida just because
Right.
the snowbirds move down and they settle down in that area. But a lot of people don't buy the urns, so we just kind of nix that and push that to the side. But still a lot of people are getting buried. A lot of people are still choosing caskets and so forth, and so we just decided to concentrate on what we know and what we know best. So,
Well, and y'all have, when Andy Bryant was alive, you took us through the plant over there that time, and it was a little awkward because, you're sitting there looking at the final place, and people don't want to admit that's going to happen, but it's going to happen. But Andy and I were in awe of some of the craftsmanship that's put into these things. I mean, they're awesome. They're pieces of art. Okay, me and Andy were looking at one when you walked away. It was a wooden one that you had there, and it was a rental. You had told us, "Oh, we rent that one." And I'm like, "Really?" Tell us about a rental so nobody gets.
Well, on a rental,
you don't bury them in.
no, on a rental, if what we choose, what we call a rental oak, is it's an oak that the funeral home carries, and it has if a family chooses cremation, they can still have the option of a viewing.
Okay.
And so it's kind of neat. The end of the casket where the handle is, it drops down like the tailgate of a truck. And so you have a lined container in there that the remains are in, and you just slide that whole container out with the remains in it, and it has a lid that goes on top, and then that is transported by the funeral home. The container is to a local crematory, which I think the closest one is probably an Enterprise now, and so and then the cremains over there, so cremated over there. So those are that gives the family an option of a viewing, some final moments there with the deceased, and allows for cremation. So those are becoming a little popular now because you can get both. Yeah, I guess you could say a viewing, ceremony, funeral,
Plus the cremation.
plus the cremation.
Without
cremation.
a large expense.
Right.
Okay. Let's talk about the history a little bit of coveted casket. I want to talk about the casket making and things like that, the options and how trends have changed just since you guys have been there. Materials have changed. Wood used to be the only way to make a casket, then steel, then different types of things. And I'm not trying to I want people to be aware of knowledgeable when they have the unfortunate timing or something of a loss of a family member. They don't think about this stuff, and they get to the funeral home, and you got to trust the funeral home. You got to make sure that everything's in an appropriate place, and emotions are high, and things like that. So I want to talk about how sincere your company is about putting a product together that A, you're proud of, and B, the family will never ever have to be concerned with, because there's just craziness that goes on in the industry.
Right.
And we're small town, we're local people, and you guys put out probably one of the best products in the United States. At least I feel so.
We feel like we do.
Going through that. But tell us some history about it. How long has Covington Casket been in Covington County?
Okay. It actually started out, Covington Casket actually started out in Opp. It started in 1924, and then shortly after that, like in 1925 or 26, it was moved to Andalusia. Probate Judge J.M. Robinson, I believe, was probate judge then, and he purchased it and brought it over to Andalusia just shortly after 1924, and then it was named Andalusia Casket Company. Now, I don't really know when it changed over to Covington shortly after that, But that was started in 1924, like I said, then moved to Andalusia. And about 1945, H.H. King, which was the foreman at that time that Judge Robinson had hired to run the plant, he acquired the shares from Judge Robinson in 1945. At that time, he brought on 2 people as partners, and one of them was A.W. Mills, and the other one was Levi Wisham. And that is Jerry Wisham's dad out there at the college.
Oh, okay.
So we got some local ties with Jerry there, and, you know, with his dad. A great man Mr. Wisham was, and so was Mr. Mills. We called him Old Man Mills, Mr. A.W., because he stayed there for years back before I actually come on board. But then on to the in the 50s, late 50s, early 60s, Mr. Mills' son, Arbor Lawrence Mills, came in as a partner, and then later on, Mr. Mills and Mr. Wisham owned it, and they owned it on into the 70s. In 1971, how the Williamsons acquired it in 1971. My dad owned a Texaco station here, and I know a lot of the listeners, viewers here, remember Johnny's Texaco, and it's where the car wash is across from BB&T Bank now.
Oh, okay.
Next to USA Gym. And so
right where our old studios used to be when we first started.
Yep, that's right there. And so Dad had Johnny's Texaco, and Covington Casket bought gas from my dad, and they had a sales rep that left, and Mr. Wisham and Mr. Mills approached Daddy. Daddy had a real good personality, and approached Daddy with coming on board as a sales rep. And of course, he was like anybody else. He said, "I don't know that much about a casket." And they said, "Well, Johnny, if you'll just come on board, you know, we'll teach you. We'll teach you what you need to know." So, and he started there in '71, and then in '77, Mr. Wisham decided that he would retire. He had been there about 60 years.
Wow.
Yes, and so he retired, and then let's see. Yeah, if I've got, let me get me. I think it's about right, around 50 to 60 years. Anyway, a long time. The only job Mr. Wisham I think he ever had, to tell you the truth. I think he started there as a young man. But anyway, so Dad bought out his shares, 50% at that time, and him and Mr. Mills ran it. My brother Eddie came on board right there around '77. Started there working with Dad and Mr. Mills in the plant, and then in 1987, Dad bought out Mr. Mills' half, and then I came on board. So Dad had us both there, working in the plant. When one of us was not in the plant, the other one would be on the road traveling. You know, so we would kind of share the duties. Me and Eddie would, helping Dad run the plant. And then, of course, Dad died in '93, and so we acquired the plant from my mom, the estate, and then that's how me and Eddie have had it since 1993. So
wow. So there's a lot of handoffs
yes,
along the way, but
yeah.
it's still, you know, withstood all of that, and that says something. I mean, you know, how many times does a business be handed off to different individuals and then into another family and last? I mean, it's unheard of. I mean, that tells you something's right over there with that. And then you got, again, I go back to Frankie, you know, 35 years, you know, I mean, good gosh, you know, that's a long time, you know, and Frankie looks like he's only 17.
Well, he don't have very much stress, Eddie, that's why. I hope he's not watching this.
Oh, he'll be told about it, I'm sure. But, you know, we share a granddaughter together, and I'm just so proud to have another grandfather in my granddaughter's life like Frankie McVeigh. He is a good man. But a lot of your people are that way. I mean, I know, what's the magic? What do you do to those employees, okay, to make them feel welcome every day coming to work?
Well, like I said, we treat them the way we want to be treated. We listen to them. We respect their opinions. I can't tell you how many times after 4 o'clock somebody just want to come in the office and want to talk to me about a family problem and something like that. And we just have an open door policy. And I don't know. I think that's just, like I said, that's just a gift. I know a lot of larger companies, you know, there's somebody else's problem, or they have they have a manager that looks into that or takes care of that. But I think for a person to come in and be able to talk to a boss or an owner and get their opinion about that, I think it means it's important to them. And they're important to us.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just one way we connect.
Well, not one time, and I know I don't want to touch a spot with you, but over the past couple of weeks or past several months, not one time did I hear anybody have any concern that works there or from y'all or from the media or anything worried about the Health Care Act. Y'all are taking care of your people.
Oh yeah, So I think we you have to keep an eye on that and see how that's going to affect us. But right now, I think we're under the.
But nobody's worried about it.
Yeah.
You hear all these other businesses. Oh, I can't hire people. I can't do this. You continue to go day by day and just that's where God teaches us to be successful. Okay, just take every day by day. And keep the faith. And y'all are very faithful people, by the way, too. And we're thankful for that. We're going to take a quick break. Come on back, and I want to talk about the product and where you service and how people can actually make sure that their loved one is resting in a covenant casket. Okay? All right. Thanks for coming on, man. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
He's done well, hasn't he, Teresa? Folks, welcome to Good Morning or Good News this morning, and we have Alan Williams from Covenant Casket. We take a quick commercial break. Thanks for tuning in. God bless you. Remember, keep it real, keep God in it. We'll be right back. Welcome back to WKNI Good News Covenant County segment. Boy, we've got Alan Williams here from Covenant Casket, the oldest known manufacturing business in the area, and we're so proud to have him on. Really, how can we help you? We're live on the air.
We're talking caskets. Have a seat.
We're talking caskets, and don't know who that is, but you can go see who that is. But anyway, Alan Williams, it's live TV. And when we first started this place, Ivan Bishop sat right here in this chair, and he says, Eddie, what are you going to do with a studio in front like this and having people just walking in? And I said, tell them we're live on the air. If they want to come in and sit down. It's community TV. It's all about it. Are we good?
Yes, the air conditioner.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. The air conditioner guys. Oh, yeah. We got to get that.
It's working. It feels pretty cool.
Well, it's got to get fixed, too. But anyhow, let's go back to Covenant Casket Company. All right. What type, the only time people get to see caskets are at funeral homes, during graveside, all right, and they don't walk up to the manufacturing plant and do a walkthrough normally, okay? However, you do special building and special request, okay? I've seen some of that. I think the only one you won't do is Auburn, right?
We do very few Auburn caskets. We do several Alabama, but anyway. I'm sure David Darby loved that one.
He'll be talking to you.
Yeah, we'll fix David up. So
yeah, I stay away from football with you guys because you're diehard Alabama and he's diehard Auburn, and y'all got money invested into both schools, and I'm like going, okay, we'll just leave that alone. But I had to throw that in there. But anyway, you have a product that is, well, like we said at the beginning of the show, that people don't really like to talk about.
Right.
All right. But it's important, and it's a very costly item when it comes to the final planning stages. So tell us about the importance of a quality casket today. What is a person buying?
Well, caskets are made in different metals. When you have thicknesses of 18 gauge and 20 gauge steel, stainless steel, copper, and bronze. Of course, your bronze is your copper, and stainless are your finer metals. We still produce a fair amount of those. Of course, those are costly, and with the economy and the change that we've seen in the last 5 years, we've seen we call those precious metals in the casket business, and we've seen a shift away from those. We still have some people that do want those, and we still manufacture those, but we see more of the 18 and 20 gauge steel, which is, of course, like I said, it's the thickness. It takes 18 sheets of steel in an inch to make 18 gauge, and 20 sheets of steel in an inch to make a 20 gauge. It's just the thickness in the metal. I don't know, never seen any type of scientific proof that one outlasts the other, but anyway, that we do offer usually your 20 gauge steel or is your more affordable because it's not as thick as your 18 gauge steel. So, but we produce a lot of those here at Covenant Casket there, and seems to be kind of the backbone of where the industry is shifting right now. So, yeah, it's, I have to control myself a lot of times if I'm at the Andalusia football games or basketball games, and people's, I'm sitting there and I'm making jokes about caskets and stuff and all. My wife.
You wouldn't joke about caskets.
No, not at all. But my wife's like, Alan, not people not in this business, and I guess because, I've been around it since '71, since I was 7 or 8 years old. It's no different looking at a bicycle when I see one. And I've got to understand that, and I do understand that it is tough on families. We want to let families know, that of course we want to make that burden easier by getting them what they want. The funeral homes do have, of course, the funeral homes have selection rooms that families can go in and pick out the caskets. We also, of course, have, we don't sell direct. We do depend on the families to go in and ask for a Covenant casket. A lot of people don't realize that there are probably 5 to 6 different manufacturers that come through Covenant County selling caskets.
Right.
The bulk of those are made in Indiana. Some are imported from China. Some are imported from Mexico. That's what we're really facing right now. So really what we have to do is get out the word that our product is locally made, American made, and depend on families here locally to ask for our product. And then if they, if they cannot find what they're looking for in the selection room, the funeral directors do have a book that they can show them that has over about 150 styles in it. We do have that same selection on the internet, and it's www.covingtoncasket.com. The families can even look online before they go to the funeral home. Since we don't sell direct, they would have to go to the funeral director and say, hey, I did see a nice looking brown unit, or one that had a farm. We do different themes with the farm scenes in them. We also do, we do some with mossy oak interiors.
I've seen those.
Seems to be real popular. That's one thing that's kept us in business, is being able to adapt and do. We are a custom manufacturer. We probably 50% of our business is streamlined. The other 50% is customization, and that's what the other manufacturers don't do. They want to pump out hundreds a day, and we want to concentrate on the people that want a certain something. This is a very tender time in a person's life, and we want to get them what they want. And I don't have a problem if somebody wanted something purple with pink polka dots. I mean, I'm telling you, we want to make what that family wants, and we want them to be, in a dignified way. We want to be proud of what they put their loved one in, and that's just what we do. We do special type units down there.
A very sensitive subject at certain times, and you're talking about, you can joke about it at the football games and stuff like that. I can relate to that, because as a firefighter medic, I'd come home and be talking about work over the dinner table, and people would sit there, really, don't want to hear about that. But when reality checks in, okay, you in your position, the funeral home has got a lot of responsibilities, and for them to be able to provide a fine product, okay, you have to have a track record, and yours is well proven. What areas do you service?
We service parts of 5 states. We go into Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. We have a warehouse in Albany, Georgia. We have one in Jackson, Mississippi, one in Macomb, Mississippi, and we just put one in Atlanta. We're going to try that market and see what happens there. Atlanta's a big market, but every casket company in the country is in Atlanta, because there's 5 million people there within a 75-mile radius. Ooh. So it's so we're gonna make that move. Well, we've already made that move. We put that up there about 3 to 4 weeks ago, and I'll be up there next week, going around with a rep and trying to get things kind of jump started up there. So we're just, trying to stay busy, give our employees plenty of work, and keep it rolling.
You get Atlanta, you're not going to be moving anything out of here. It's all going to be manufactured here, right?
It's going to be manufactured here. That's
Okay.
right. Yeah, we don't. All of our parts, Eddie, that are the Indiana, the state of Indiana, is basically where your big three casket manufacturers are.
Right.
So Indiana is kind of the Detroit, like the car business is of Detroit. It is of the casket business. Indiana is, so all of our parts are processed in Indiana, and we truck them down, freight them down, and then we have welders and painters and stuff, and we assemble everything here. So all our steel is made, is produced in Indiana, and so and then we just bring it all, have our freight trucks bring it down, and we assemble it down here.
How do they know that they're going to get a coveting casket? Is it by request, or is it automatic, or
Well, we have about 5 years ago, we started supplying, putting in our caskets cards that say made in Andalusia, Alabama. Now it's up to a funeral director's discretion to leave them in there or take them out. Hopefully they leave them in there, because we want people to know that product is made in Andalusia. And I have the majority of funeral homes I talk to tell me that the funeral homes are excited. They're saying, hey, you would be surprised, like in Pensacola, Panhandle, Florida is just an extension of South Alabama, and everybody has kinfolks in Pensacola, and they've got relatives up here. And when it's time, if somebody passes away and they recognize that in Andalusia, Alabama, they buy it. It makes a difference to them. It really does. So we try to encourage the funeral directors. Now, once the funeral home buys that casket, he can do what he wants to with it.
Right.
But we really encourage the funeral directors to let the people know that those caskets are made in Andalusia.
Well, Alan, there's so many other questions I have for you, and I'd love to have you come back and talk more about this. One day I'd like to do a walkthrough. We talked about that and go through the process of it all and make a little documentary on it. And I hope we're up to that soon and get that taken care of. But you got your hands full, looks like, in Atlanta.
I hope so. I love getting my hands full.
75 million people, or 5 million people in a 75-mile radius. That's a lot of people.
A lot of folks, a lot of traffic up there. So we just hope God blesses us with that area. That's a challenge to us. That's going to be a hard market to crack, but we're up for the task, and we're going to be here with Atlanta or without Atlanta. We're going to be here.
There you go. Well, we're proud of you. Thank you for being part of this community forever, and we're looking forward to seeing you many more years down the road. Frankie McVeigh will probably be there as a dust particle one day.
We're going to tote Frankie out in the coveting casket. That's what we're going to do.
You think?
I think so. I don't think you'd have it any other way.
I wonder if we'll put lawnmower wheels on it. The McVeighs are famous for lawnmower racing. That's just a joke. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Thank you for having us. We
you.
appreciate it.
This guy has got a wonderful family, and his mama speaks volumes if you ever get to meet her. And I'm proud to know them. I'm proud. Eddie is he's the quiet guy, and he's the one in the background. Well, put it this way, when it comes to television, he's the quiet guy. But he's really nice folks, too. Your office staff, can't say enough about them. That young lady that sits at that desk every day, she's a sweetheart.
Yes.
And there isn't a person there that I've run into that I can say, man, I wish I hadn't come today. They make you feel comfortable. And that's how success is in a community and in a community-based business like this. It's your family members, it's family members from all over this area that are working at Coveting Casket. And just remember, when the time arises, ask for that coveting casket. The funeral director will probably sit there and go, oh, no problem, and jump right there and take care of you and just support the local economy.
Please
there
do.
You go. God bless you, sir. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Remember, folks, keep it real, keep God in it. This is Good News Coveting County. We'll see you back here live at noon on WKNI TV 25.